Hello and welcome to my first tutorial. The engine I'm using right now, the drawing tool, is Aggie.io. It's available online basically anywhere, and it's pretty free, pretty cool. I think you can buy things on it for a better version, but I find this version perfectly fine. What I've done here is I've taken a traditional drawing and I've uploaded it. You can paste files in here, so I don't have to have another sketch layer. I can just draw something traditionally and then color it in on Scratch. So first I'm going to work out the line art. I'm going to click on the layer here. It's a bit touchy when it comes to touchpads. And I'm going to turn the opacity down. You do that with this little slider up at the top right here. And that means I can make it brighter or darker for a sketch layer. My stabilizer here means that if I turn it all the way up, the curves will be really smooth, but it'll draw really slowly. So I usually keep the stabilizer about 20%, 30%, 40%. So my curves will be really smooth, but I can also draw at a pretty usual speed. I could zoom in and out manually using fingers, but it's pretty unpredictable, so I usually just use the zoom in, zoom out buttons at the top here. Color is black because this is just an outline. And let's get to drawing. This is going to be a pretty cute little drawing, so I'm using mostly circular shapes. Lots of curves to indicate that it's a pretty cute, harmless little critter here. The ears are usually the first part of the drawing I start with, and I always make sure, if I can, that the parts that need to be colored in with the paint tool or mass colored are always cut off and completely sealed, because if they aren't, then it'll just cover the entire page with one color and I'll have to do manual coloring, and that takes a while online. That's not why I draw online. I draw online for vibrant colors and consistency and ease of access. I also recommend that whenever you have a long line, remember to lift your pencil every now and again, or your stylus, or your finger if that's what you draw with. Because if you need to use the undo tool, which is right up here, then you can use your undo without undoing the entire line and then having to redo everything. You can just undo the part that you don't like. The undo tool in Aggie is not limitless. It's got like, I don't know, 20 undo clicks, and then you can't undo anymore and you just have to live with your mistakes. It's better than traditional art where you have to live with your mistakes anyway, but just keep that in mind if you draw using this tool, that you can't just undo everything like maybe Scratch. I don't think Scratch has an undo limitation. If you get out of the Aggie.io website as well, it will also not let you undo any more mistakes that you might have made. You're just stuck with what you've drawn already, basically starting over again. I always keep an eye out for gaps like this one right here. That would make it impossible for me to color in the entirety of my drawing, and that can be really annoying. Looking around and seeing what else I need to line art or draw lines over. Zooming in, zooming out, it takes a lot out of your finger. That's why I don't draw with my finger mostly. That, and I don't like the feeling of touchpad or computer on a finger, but some people are able to do it, and I really do admire that because I've never really been able to do it. It's quite annoying for me. Over here, these little curvy lines, that's when the stabilizer really comes in, because my hand is not naturally steady, so I'm just kind of stuck with whatever the stabilizer can give me at this point, which is a whole lot, actually. It's a very useful tool. Looking around, I've only got the base of the tail left to do, and then I can be done with this part of the drawing and get to coloring. This is actually a drawing of a baby Cochello, which is an unreleased species that should be coming out sometime in October. So I can hide the sketch layer now, and that looks pretty, excuse me, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to delete the sketch layer so I don't have unnecessary layers here, and I'm going to duplicate the first sketch layer a couple of times. This is a 5-layer duplicate, and I'm going to take the second to topmost layer of the duplicates, and I'm going to fill the outside in with white, and that will be explained why I did that later. So let's take the bottom layer here, and I'll choose a color to color it in with. Let's make it a purple dude. So no gaps, so that means that his fur is nice and even. And let's see, let's bring this color down a bit for the legs. That should be a bit darker because they're farther back. And then up again for a bit lighter color for the front legs to give us a bit of contrast. The bones on the legs are supposed to be gray, so let's find a few contrasting colors there. Not too contrasting, just enough to show that they're not on the same plane level. And fill in, that color needs to be a bit lighter. Fill in the leg wounds there. A lot of art color is just touch and go and deciding what looks good, and also making sure you don't leave any gaps like I did right there. But now it's fixed. The tail is supposed to be pink, so I usually don't have any set colors for anything, but I like the color right here, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it for the skull. And look right there, I messed up a bit on the eye. I fixed it, but now I have to color in the eyes on the same layer, because if I went up a layer and tried to color in that eye, it'd color in the whole skull because I messed up on the sketch layer. So this first layer looks pretty good. So let's go to the second layer, and now I'll explain why I used the white. It's for shading, because I can just take the pink of the tail and go, let's say, a bit darker, and I'll turn the hardness, opacity, and density down on the brush and make it a bit bigger. And that gives it a softer look. I'll make that a bit bigger. And with the white on the top layer, I can now color and go over the lines, but it won't show because a layer above it is already painted. So that's a trick I like to use whenever I'm going to be using the soft shading technique. I don't use it a whole lot because it means that I can't have a very complicated background, but it is useful if you just want something quick and snappy. Let's make sure the paws aren't very shaded along with everything else. And I can use the same method on the inside of the leg here to make it a bit darker, a bit more realistic. Turning the hardness, opacity, and density down means that the entire brush texture becomes a lot softer. Turning the hardness and density down even further makes it to where it just becomes very fuzzy on the outside. It's almost impossible to reach a point where it makes a difference in the color of your art. So you have to toy with those to find something that you really like. Let's see. And that looks pretty good to me. So thank you for watching. Try subscribing if you liked the video. Goodbye.